Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Colleen Meyer, and welcome to our first episode of Welcome to My Living Room. And we have our first guest, and we're going to start with the best, guys. We're going to start with the best. This is Dave Kramer. He is an entrepreneur many times over, by the way. He has an amazing system for small businesses called, don't tell me, I got it written down, AllProWebTools.
AllProWebTools.
Oh, AllProWebTools.
But very close.
But I can't even read my own handwriting. And not only that, Dave is a speaker and host of Dave Talks Business. So, Dave, tell us a little bit more about you that I didn't cover.
Well, something that I've always, since a very young age, I made this decision that I wanted to live life doing what I wanted to do. And I thought I would hear adults talking around me about, I have to go to work tomorrow. And I thought, why do you have to go to work? Why can't you just get paid to do what you enjoy doing? And I was so young. I think I was 7 or 8 years old at the time. And so that's been kind of my life mission. And for that reason, I've never worked for anyone a day in my life. And I've been able to move around and do things and start businesses and hire people and just experience so many things. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that being an entrepreneur has so many perks but you haven't been just one business. How many businesses have you owned in your career? I know you started selling candy when you were 7, but and tell us a little bit more about some of the other businesses that you had.
Okay, so at 7, I was selling candy, and at 10, I learned how to do electronic repair. So I was fixing VCRs and CB radios and answering machines and all kinds of things. So that was a really lucrative business for me. And then after that, I went on to starting a pager and cell phone company right after graduating from high school. And I became the number 1 reseller, or the number 2 reseller in Northern California. And then I went on to a computer repair company, and then I started a nightclub, and then I started doing some real estate investment, doing some renting, and that was fun. And then after that, I went on to do some video work. I was creating TV commercials for Comcast out in California. And then after that, I worked with a nutraceutical company in internet marketing. And so, yeah, I've been doing quite a few different things. I love technology. I love computers. So we live in a digital age now, so it kind of fits me.
And I liked your program, AllProWebTools, a toolkit for small business owners. Tell us a little bit about how that got started.
Yeah, very interesting how that started. So I moved from California to Colorado to semi-retire. And that didn't last very long because I got bored. So I decided, I don't want to start another business, but I think I'd like to coach other businesses so they can be successful. So I started visiting these business clubs in Colorado to look for somebody that I could mentor. And I ran into somebody who had this little box, and he had these little vials in the box. And I said, what is that? He said, I have all kinds of herbal remedies for common problems that people have, like skin rashes and runny noses and things. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. And so I started helping him with his online marketing, his online presence. And there was a need for a software that would manage all these aspects of his business. And this is back before WordPress was a thing. So that's how far back this goes. There wasn't really an Etsy. There wasn't any of these things. And so I thought, I'll just go home and write you a little small program that'll solve this problem. And so I did. And we launched that, and we saw great success. And he said, this is working, but can we add a couple more features to it? And I said, sure, I'll do it tonight, and we'll test it out tomorrow. And this kept happening, day after day, week after week, month after month. And this thing just grew and grew and grew to the point where other companies started to get notice of it and wanted access to it. And I thought, oh, geez, okay, I guess I got to hire some people to manage these other accounts. And it just became this whole business. And for the last 11 years now, we have added thousands of features specifically by request from our customers. So it's kind of one of those things where if our client needs something, they can ask for it and get it done, which is so different from how normal software companies operate, which is you use what we give you and we don't want to hear what you have to say about it. And so we've created this feedback loop where we can actually work with our customers face to face and understand their challenges and help them to overcome those. But really the whole point of this was to help small business owners to compete with the big corporations that have all the software at their disposal, because we want the little guy to win. We want the little guy to be able to compete and to be able to take some market share from those big corporations.
You know what I liked about it is because it had, you combine these features, so you don't have to have this app for this app for that, doing this over here. It's all grouped together. So I think it makes it easier for entrepreneurs because they can manage their business from one site.
Yes. And to be able to see everything from your phone. So you can be that entrepreneur who is on a lunch meeting, or you're on vacation, or you're traveling, you're in an airport, and from one dashboard, you can scroll and you can see all the text messages that are coming in and out of your company. You can see all the email traffic from all of your employees, and you can always have that peace of mind, because that's my thing. When I leave the office, I don't know, are they taking care of my favorite customer? Or did they call that guy back? Are they taking care of things? But now I don't worry about it because I can just see.
I think that is so important, because I think, especially because we're in this digital kind of, after COVID, everybody went online. We all had to pivot. And I think it's really important because, you want to make sure, because when I look at business, I come from a philosophy of value. I want to give my customers value, whether that's customer service, the product, my time, my energy. We want to be valuable. And this way, with your system, we can do that even if we're remote, even if we're on vacation.
Right.
So I think that's an amazing, and we'll put that on there on the comments for anybody that wants to check it out. We'll put your website in the comments. So let's talk about business. So what would be your values? So what are your values that you brought into your current business and all your other businesses?
Well, I think that it's unfortunate in this day and age that when we have a problem and we have to call a company we're working with, that we have to sit on hold, or we have to press 1 for English, and then we're transferred to another department and they don't know the answer, so they transfer you somewhere else, and then the call disconnects. I think customer service and support has just gone down the tubes.
Absolutely.
And what that's caused is the consumers now to be so frustrated before they've even picked up the phone to make the call. There's no leeway there. So we want to make sure that we take care of the customer as excellently as possible. So as soon as somebody sends us a text message, the rule to my team is you call them right back. As soon as somebody wants help, we've embedded a video conferencing system right into the software, so they can press a button and see a human face and talk to a real person. And I think that's just really lost in the business environment we're in now, is everything's like you have to submit a ticket, or you have to send an email, and you have to wait 2 days. And what happened to people helping people? So I would say that's the value that I bring. And I do that for small business owners because I feel that small business owners are the ones that are providing that face-to-face support to their customers. So I think we can lift everyone up by providing face-to-face support.
What you said is so true, because you look at businesses, they work so hard to get you as their customer, and then they turn around, and once you're hooked in or you're using them, they really just don't want to hear from you after that.
That's so true. And it's interesting, it's counterintuitive, because the cost to get a new client is so high, and the cost to retain an existing client is so low. So if all it takes is a personal phone call to help out a client you have now who's struggling, who's going to be a raving fan for you and probably refer their friends, that's the best advertising you could ever get. And it's also the cheapest. So yeah, it's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive. So let's talk about business philosophy. So this kind of would kind of be in line with that. But what other type of business philosophies do you have that you use to run your multiple businesses?
Something I learned a while back. Remember the cola wars
Oh, yes, I do.
commercials? So there was a time where TV commercials would literally show their competitor's brand and bash it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was how it's supposed to be done. But that's gone away. And really, people are drawn to positivity, and they really aren't drawn to a brand who is displaying any kind of negativity. So some advice I give to small business owners, because I actually see small business owners do this a lot, is they want to talk down their competitor. You really don't need to do that. I think they have a saying that a lion doesn't have to roar to know that it's a lion. So if you know that you've got the best product in the market, then just lead with that. And people will follow. People will find you.
I agree with that. Adam Smith, in his book, The Wealth of Nations, said, don't worry about competition. Competition will take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about leadership, because I know you're an amazing leader, that you have your employees and interns that they've actually became business owners themselves based on your leadership. But how would you label your leadership?
Well, the approach that I take is, and it may be flawed, but I like being independent, and I like having my own control of my own destiny and my own life. And for me, that has to go with your financial freedom, right? So you've got to have some kind of way of generating revenue for yourself. Now, if that's as an employee, that's fine. But every employee I bring on, I'm always showing them how to run a business. And I'm showing them how, one of my Daveisms that I say constantly is, who is in control? So when a employee comes to me with a problem, I would say, well, who's in control? And they'll think about it for a moment, and they know what the right answer is supposed to be. So they say, I am. And I say, well, if you're in control, why are you having a problem? What would you do about this? How would you solve this issue? And what I'm really looking for is for them to bring me not just a problem, but a suggestion with the problem. Something else I do, which a lot of people would advise me not to, is I will allow my staff to make mistakes that I know are going to hurt my company. Now, they're always doing it within some guardrails, right? I'm not going to let them go way off the deep end, but I know something's not quite going to work, but I let them make that experience, because then they can see my faith in them. And also they get to see what happens when they make a mistake, because that's always the number one fear for an employee is, ooh, what if I upset the boss? What if I make a mistake? So if I let them make a mistake and they come to me and they say, this didn't work, this is bad, what should I do? I will then say, what did we learn from this experience? And how can we improve it going forward? And again, this is, instead of me telling them what to do, it's all questions. I'm asking them for their opinion. I'm asking them for their advice, for their perspective. And that instills in them a sense of belonging and that I trust them. And that's something that is not taught in schools right now. And that is a problem. People come to me ready to salute and just do what they're told to follow instructions, but they have no idea what the instructions are for, what the purpose, and it just removes them from the experience of being part of a team. And that's what we want. I want to build team members. And so I think that's why a lot of people will work with me for a year or two and eventually go off to start their own business, because now they see it's not that scary, it's not that hard, and they've kind of been running their own business with my guardrails for the last year or two. So and they also know that after they leave, they can still call me later and ask for advice.
I completely agree with that. And I've done that myself. I would tell my managers, make an executive decision. If it's wrong, we can talk about it. But at least you're working towards thinking on your own and making those decisions. And if we'll just regroup, if something kind of falls apart. And I think that's so important because as a leader, that builds trust in you and the company. It makes people happier. They take ownership. And when they're happy and they take ownership, they treat your customers better.
Absolutely. And they don't want to leave, right?
And they
Because
don't
they
want
have
to leave.
ownership. Right.
And John Maxwell, and I think it was in his book, leaders developing the leader within. And he says that leaders develop leaders. And when I used to look for people that were going to be either my managers or my directors or whatever positions that I was hiring at the time, I always was looking for a leader, not a manager, because leaders make a difference.
And there's another aspect to this that I think is interesting. The culture that we live in now is kind of like you don't argue with the boss because the boss is always right, even when he's not right. And I make mistakes all the time. And so I think letting others make decisions that sometimes I disagree with, I got to be honest with you. There have been times that people have made suggestions that I thought were off the wall and they actually worked. And what business is, right? We try something, we measure the results, and then we pivot from that point. And so another thing I would add to this is that as I continue to get older and the audience, the environment, the consumers are younger, who's going to relate better with those consumers? Me getting older or the millennials that I'm hiring? So if the millennial has an idea that we should switch from doing phone calls to doing, Facebook messages to talk to our customers, and I think, wow, who would ever want to do that? But they understand that millennial crowd better than I do. And then we see that, things improve. So we're not always right. And so what do you have to lose?
That's exactly true. That is exactly true. I love that. Let's talk about your favorite part of being a business owner besides, because we talked about you never want to work for anybody. You want to be your own boss. So what other aspects do you love?
Knowing that I can make an actual difference in the world. And so I think what I've actually been able to do as a side project in my business is my internship program, where I will take programmers from colleges who want to learn how to program computers, and no one will hire them because they have no on-the-job experience. And how are they going to get on-the-job experience if no one will hire them? It doesn't make any sense. So we bring them into an internship program where they get paid, and I get to teach. And I didn't really know how much I enjoyed teaching, but to know how many people I have launched off into their careers who are, now doing well for themselves, that is a really good feeling. That is something that you can sleep really good at night knowing that you've helped a number of people.
When I hear stories like that, this is how I look at it. You didn't just help a number of people because you helped, let's say you take one person. With that person being successful is now affecting their family. And then you help generations of people by helping that one person. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. My hat's off to all of my elementary school teachers. It's funny how I still think of them throughout the day when I'm, spelling receive where the I before E except after C. I remember the teacher that said that to me. And, there's all these things that our elementary school teachers are really doing to further the entire next generation, which is really, really cool.
That is cool. And I think that teaching, whether it's elementary school, high school, college, universities, what you do on the job, it's a calling. I think there's a part of you, something's inside of you that wants to give back to individuals to make them better. What frustrates me that I've seen all through my business career is some leaders are afraid to train somebody else and teach them what they know, thinking this person's going to take my job from me.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, I was able to produce managers. I was able to produce school directors. I think it shows leadership if you can produce other leaders. It's not about competition.
Right.
Have you seen that in your travels?
Yeah, there's the talk that people have about living in a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset. And when I first heard that, I didn't really understand what they were referring to. But I have learned both in marketing and leadership. Um, if you're in marketing and you're giving away all this information for free, that's the new norm. That's how you do it, because you build an audience, you build people who want to hear from you, and then they want to buy from you because you've given them everything for free. And the same thing with leadership. I think the more that you invest in people, the more you get back. I think investing in people and investing in yourself, like with education, is the best investment you could make.
Let's talk about challenges. If you had to go start over in any of your businesses, what would you have done differently? So we'll probably have to go way back. What would you have done? What have you have done differently? And what was the one big thing that you learned along the way that you're like, we're not doing this along your business journeys?
Well, there's quite a few, actually. You learn a lot over 30 years in business. One of them is I did not understand taxes. I did not understand investment. I did not understand business structures. My first businesses were all sole proprietorships because it seemed like the cheap and quick and easy way to get something done. I didn't understand this LLC stuff. But yeah, that's one thing. If I had invested 30 years ago in the stock market with the revenue I was generating from my businesses, that would have been a good thing. And then also what we were talking about with people. I had very poor social skills when I started out. I actually had a girlfriend who bought a book for me called People Skills. And one day she gave it to me and she said, "You need to read this." And then she walked away. And she actually changed my life by doing that, because I read that book and it helped me to understand some very poor speech patterns that I picked up from my family. In when I'm giving instructions to someone else and I'm ordering them around and I'm telling them what to do, the manager I am now is 180 degrees from what I was in the beginning. I was more dictating and I wasn't asking questions. And now I always ask questions and I always want to hear their feedback and their input and their ideas. So I think those are the two major things I would do differently.
Let's say someone came up to you now and said to you, "Hey, Dave, I want to start a business." Is there the most important thing you would say to them, and what would you warn them about? Like, what would you say? Don't do this, but do this as the first thing.
Well, I actually do get that question a lot, so I can tell you exactly what I say. The first thing is revenue, right? So if you have this idea, go sell it now. Don't get business cards. Don't build $1,000 websites. Don't create a bunch of flyers. Go sell that idea now. And even if you don't have the product available, go sell the idea now. So I've actually, back before COVID, I would suggest that somebody go to a Starbucks with a drawing of their idea or a prototype of their idea, and they would sit by the bar where Starbucks gives the cups out. There's usually have stools there, and you can sit there. And who usually is in Starbucks at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Business people.
People that are business. Yeah. So as they come up to get their coffee, I've actually done this. I would say, "Hey, can I get your opinion on something? I've got this new soda I'm thinking about selling. What do you think would be a better name? A, B, or C?" And you'd be amazed how people are willing to just help you out and give you an answer. And it's really a good thing to do to not ask people who know you. because your friends and family are going to do the same thing that they did when you were 5 years old and you drew a picture with a crayon. Oh, that's really good, honey. You're going to do great. And so that's the kind of feedback that you want. You want constructive criticism. You want people to say, well, I don't know you, so I'm going to be honest with you. I think this, this, or this. And so if you can do that, and if you can get pre-sale orders, you can let them know, I don't have the product now. I can have it to you in 2 weeks. Would you be willing to pay for it today? If you can't sell your idea, you don't have a business. So that's both the what I would warn you about and what I would advise you to do is that you don't want to go and spend a bunch of money on websites and business cards if you can't even make the sale.
You know, when you were saying that, I'm picturing it in my head. And I know that a lot of people, you know, because I work with women business owners, and I did my dissertation on women business owners, and we have our Fearless and Pink podcast designed for women business owners. And what I hear a lot is imposter syndrome. You know, it's that self-efficacy that they're going to step up to do what you just said, because that is awesome market research.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You'll probably find that you'll pivot your idea pretty quick before you've even spent any money on the prototype. But you're right about the imposter syndrome. And maybe I just have a screw loose and I just go out there and I just do it. But it is important. And I've also heard business owners say, well, I'm the idea guy. I'm going to hire a salesperson and they're the one that's going to do the sales. No, doesn't work. You're going to have to train that salesperson, and you're going to want that salesperson to go out there with the right product. So as you said, Colleen, very, very well, you have to experience it yourself, and you have to make those little micro adjustments and those pivots in the pitch as you're sitting at Starbucks for that 2-hour session, and you're getting hit in the face constantly, repeatedly with people and their feedback on your product, to where you go, oh, you know what I thought was originally going to work, maybe instead of using blue in my logo, I need to use green based on the feedback I've gotten.
And I think that doing that type of research, 2 hours at Starbucks doing that exact thing is, I think, equivalent to months of buyer personas and research and all of that.
It's instant feedback. It's great.
It's instant.
And you can ask follow-up questions too. It's great.
I'm just thinking, as a marketer, I'm thinking that's so amazing.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, let's talk about getting a hold of you. And I know you have demos for your system.
Yep.
And so what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
So my coaching company is Dave Talks Business. And so the website for that is davetalksbusiness.com. And the YouTube channel is also Dave Talks Business, so you can just search for that. But feel free to send me a text message, and we can chat about anything. The number is 863-356-5799.
And we'll put all that information into our comment section for people so they can have it.
All right.
So, Dave, is there anything you wanted to leave us with, some words of wisdom before we sign off?
Sure. If you do what you love, you'll always love what you do. And I hope that you stay profitable doing it.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on to Welcome to My Living Room, talking all things business. Everyone, this is Dave Kramer, Dave Talks Business. Look him up. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Colleen.